Hey everybody, I'm Jess, your go-to Kingdom dance analyst, and we are going to be taking a revisit onto Oneus' set from the first challenge of Road to Kingdom Ace of Ace. Here is why. I'm very apologetic when I say this, where I did focus way more on concept justification with this group in comparison to the other two. So out of courtesy, I wanted to take a second watch and give a different degree of feedback, focus more on the mechanics, choreography, those types of things in comparison to why they made costume choices the way that they did, things of the like. And we will also talk about really specifically why I am such a critic when it comes to content and concept justification as well with this group in particular, because it has come up in all the other ones, but because I know this one is getting a revisit, I want to refine and reframe kind of what I've been saying. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a second watch.
Manners make it mad. Let me introduce you to some new dance. Bass kick swinging like a Bruce Lee. Shimmy, booty, booty, booty 위로 들때 나는 부르짖어 Bruce Lee. 나랑 달리 하루 종일 Bruce Lee.
I still didn't catch when they went away to change. That is so impressive. I said that the first time too. And shout out for the live vocals. I love the fact they're not compromising on that. Thank you. It's such a chill part of the song for it to be so red. But that's life. It is what it is. Fun. It is a fun choreo. It is. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about this now versus make it a thing throughout. So here is why, for me, I come from the lens of being very mindful on when you choose to go with the concept, really try to fight to not make it too niche. I'm going to give a great example on this. Now, I know with K-pop, it's way more hybrid than, let's say, like a street dance choreography scene. So that's, just remember, a lot of my training as somebody who's adjudicated or commentated or analyzed movement comes from a street dance lens. So keep that in mind. a lot of times in whatever schema, which there isn't one here, it's preference off of who was impacted the most based off of a performance. But if I were to give a schema, a lot of times it's going to come from the lens on whatever you're expecting me as a judge to know. So you're expecting me to know who the groups are. I do very well, more so in this kingdom than any other, which I'm very proud to say. I love that I've been able to spend time understanding these groups more. Also understand the choreographies that they're covering and the groups that they're covering. We watched those during the first review. So I took the time to do that as well. So what I'm not being asked to have going in as an adjudicator is all of this pop culture reference that through my lived experience I may or may not have been exposed to, especially if it's not related to K-pop, right? So a good example would be, I talked about this with Stray Kids. Stray Kids did a Deadpool routine. Now, it really worked in their favor on Legendary War because it got Ryan Reynolds' attention, and now they have a track on the on the soundtrack, right? So we're not dogging that, and I'm not saying there's not importance or that it was the wrong call for them to do that. That's not my point. My point, however, is this. It's the same thing whenever I talk about with K-pop groups who have heavy lore, but also they want to apply to the general public. If you have a concept that's too niche where you have to understand the lore of it in order for me to get the baseline framework of it, then that is not the most effective structure for a competition like this. If this was meant for the fans and not about the competition, it's a very different story, right? And I think that's very appropriate to say in the lens of being an analyst. I can analyze all day long, but just like with Crew 1, I said they really have to rework their lore, and I knew about it, but it still felt like we were losing a lot of areas. But I also talked about the formations and the costuming in that sense, and not really concept as much as I did on this one. But I think it's super important to I think it's absolutely okay for that to be a big note on this, because if I'm trying for half of the routine to understand what is actually going on, it's hard for me to appreciate the choreography that justifies it. Choreography is the visual representative of your music. And if you're using your music to tell a story, if that part's not getting met, even if I've seen it, it doesn't matter if I've seen it or not. Did I understand the framework of what was going on? No, and I still don't. Does that make sense? And that's okay. Just like with the Deadpool set, if I didn't understand who Deadpool was, that would have been a lot harder for me to understand. And I said with Oneus, they did a great job on their Joker set specifically in the intro stage and in the A stage, because they didn't have to inherently watch Joker to understand the bipolarness of how he was presenting himself. And I stand by everything I'm saying. So that is still a big note I'm giving this. And I appreciate y'all's grace that you've given to me in this process of me being that constructive. Like when I tell you my comments have been nothing but respectful, I do not take that lightly. It means the world. Now, you guys are here for the dance part. Let's go over the mechanics of the dance. I wanted to get all that out of the way. That is why I am that way. As a judge, you cannot expect me to understand every pop culture reference, regardless of the popularity it is in the scene of where we're at, if it's not relevant to whatever scope the competition is. It's a K-pop competition. It's not a movie reference competition. That's my big point. And also, side note, CRAVITY also did a movie reference-based routine, but I understood there's more in schema. So we can't use it as oh, I didn't get it. I didn't get CRAVITY's either. I hadn't seen it before, yet I understood what they were doing more. And I stand by that, okay? And I think that's okay. Now let's talk about Oneus. We're here.
Manners.
First thing, I still feel I appreciate the fact that he walked on the sound. That is something that a lot of times we don't see. I love that we get to see it. Manner maketh man. Probably the movie reference. Cool, we're here for it. I love that. Boom, lighting change. He takes the umbrella. Character on this. He does technically break the glass too early to the sound, so that would be my note there. And I like the fact that everybody reacts out of it. I still feel that maybe this is a camera shot. I'm about to watch the episode literally today, but I wanted to make this first. So they are from the front vantage point. It is hard for me to see this, like after that glass shatter. It's hard for me to see that, which is fine though. I still got to see it, and that's the important thing. So we saw that. Time was a smidgen off. That's fine. He walks forward. They go and they pull. I like this pull reactionary grab. Now, I don't know if he was struggling to stay stable or if that was we were supposed to show that kind of struggle. So that would be my note there. The combativeness. I appreciate the fact that it looks believable. More believable than a lot of action scenes I've seen. So that's really nice. Love that. Great commitment from the dancers. They're looking like they're struggling. And our main character, he's giving ace energy, which is also really good to note because he's not dressed so different from everybody outside of this beginning, because everybody else ends up changing too, which, by the way, my goal is to figure out when they actually go back to change because I still couldn't find it. But yeah, it's cool. We're here for it. So they roll out of the way. So right here, I like the assist. That was a really nice transition to get him up. I would say the second half of it was it felt a little bit more weighty on the descent, but that's could just be a timing thing or where we're looking at vantage point. Reveal of our four members. When do they come out? The reason why it's hard to know when they come out is because other dancers are in a darker fit, which actually helps cloud in this transition when your members get revealed. And the lighting is still so dim and you're still so focused on this jump accent. It's actually really cool how they force me to look where they want me to look. And that's one of the few groups that can do that. Just like in this, I've watched this I don't know how many times and I still didn't know when they came out at this point and when they changed because of how forced perspective they were forcing it on me. That's impressive. Very well done. They're one of the few groups that can do that. There was a bit of a struggle on the stability side there, but they drop out. He's like, look, we did it. Fight scene. Da, 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 da. The type of track this is and the combativeness makes sense to me. That I can agree with, is that this type of boom, that at least in that scene, the percussion and all those choices, it didn't feel like, ooh, the music isn't telling that we are in a scene. The scenes themselves make sense. The connection, a little bit harder. So, but I felt that way about Crew 1 too. So they go run, 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 run. And they go rev, rev, which is nice. And then they go into a little Dougie on the tail end of that, which is fun. And they go new dance, whoop. And then you have your dancers mirror to the outside. They travel down and then you keep your members continuing forward. And it goes new dance, boom, with a throw. Cool. You can hear them. It's live. We love it. Take it with the punch. Then we over and it goes Bruce Lee. Nice. And then Bruce Lee, 3, 4, Bruce Lee, 3, 4. Yeah, Bruce Lee, throw. Cool. So they end up tripling it up. Now, some of this can be overlap from the NCT choreo, totally fine. Then you have your feature here. Da-da-da-da-da, a little bleed is nice. He hits it over. It definitely feels like we did a little smeeze there, didn't it? But not really. It's just a really nice air time with the ball change on the tail end of it. You have your dancers complement with the arms up, and they drop down, boom, trying to accent that bass. There we go. Okay, so honestly, if I'm being real, the color palette of the dancers, I really appreciate because of the perspective it forces us, and it covers up the transition so well, because now I'm able to clock when they go behind. They're in the darker tracksuits, which I think I made the note. I was curious as to why they went darker. This is probably why. Covers them up every single time they were in it. Goodness, so cool. So they're there, they're already starting to take it off, but you still have, it just shows the charisma and stage presence of your main feature, of your ace. Very well. They run, I love the jump, 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 jump. And by that point, the members needed to be out of shot because what happens is that they would be caught. Like, that's the highest chance of being caught is that moment right there, you know, because you had nobody there for a second in the intersection. But part of our focal point was we got to look at the person who's the lightest dressed, not in the back corner. And so that's another reason where it feels like they're really doing a good job on forcing the perspective on it. He drops low and it goes ponies. Bruce Lee. Personally, I do wish that the dancers were a smidgen cleaner, at least in the beginning, not in the combative fight scene. It'd be weird to be super clean there. It'd be too choreographed, but at least when you had your first group of members come out, that would have been really helpful to create that structure so you really feel the difference between the combative individuality of the combat scene versus the uniformity that we're getting here. This is really nice, and I like. Personally, I wish that we had this cleanliness a little bit sooner. That little Bruce Lee, the ponies are nice, and we drop down. I love the LED choice with the and it matches when you hear a bass or you hear something hit the ground that heavy. A lot of times you have something that gets pushed up as a result of it. So that was a really cool choice. And their quick change was the definition of a quick change. Really nice. Dancers literally run away. Like there's basically it's a we're done with our part. Part of me still wishes that we had a very intentional way to get off, not a our part is done part. But then it get introduced. I do appreciate the cohesiveness of their fits here. It looks really nice. Allows you to be more forgiving on their contrast in the beginning set. all day. Yeah. He also is a freaking pro. When that suspender drops off, that can get really awkward on a lot of extensions because of the elasticity and the tension that can be pulled on the suspender. He does a freaking great job on it. And I think he ends up rapping too. And now that I think about it, he's a vocalist, not a rapper. So I know on the Kingdom member side, they're like, isn't he the vocalist, right? So now we have a new feature. So I like this, the hit and hit. They hold down the space very well. Just as a group, they go high-low. He has a little moment. He slides through. I like how they drop down. Dancers have now grabbed their umbrellas. They're running back on. I see why they're going a little bit lower so they don't feel the uppermost level is shown by the members, not the dancers. So the dancers are creating a whirlwind-like kind of transition that actually matches the LED pretty decently. They come up into a bridge recover, which is really nice. He has his moment right there in center. They have a nice little small group clump with the windowed formation to allow us to see every feature. Then they have their basket runs, click, 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 click. He grabs. I still love this. Probably one of the cleanest prop utilizations that you can for an umbrella. A lot of times you're not going to get these clean lines, but the strategy of it is they interlocked the handles, and that is really well done. So I love that. This looks great. His intensity is great here too. That hey, and then we go, they rotate it around. So he has to take ownership of the in-betweens, and this is what he's trying to do, which I appreciate. He's able to hold it well, and he's even he holds out that tail end note, which is nice because he's deemed the rapper too, which is cool. So this is nice. So they're using, honestly, how they're holding the umbrella, I'm kind of impressed with, because it does give that combative, like gun-like look. It doesn't feel like, oh, they're using an umbrella as a gun. It feels like they have guns, and then it takes you a second, oh, they're umbrellas, so you feel safe, right? Which is cool. Well done on the dancers for the commitment of that. Commitment top tier. I appreciate it on this. Great team. So the grabs are nice. They pull away on the handles. I did feel like we almost lost our grip on the first handle, but it's just whenever you have opposition that there's just going to be a slide when you don't have a handle on it. So, but he held it down. I'm glad there wasn't a hiccup there. So some of our dancers delayed their drop, so that'd be my note there. That's round off, back tuck. And then he's like, let's keep singing. And yeah, into a little shmoney. We love it. Now we have, some of them are grabbing by the wrist and some are grabbing by the arm or the hand. So that would be my note to the dancers. I would establish which one you're going to do because both look cool, but it doesn't look clean, right? So one of them has it over the wrist, some has it grabbed. Personally, my preference is the wrist because it just looks more, it actually matches the, not the laziness, but the relaxed hands that you have Oneus do. But they're hinged over. I would actually have them hinge over a smidgen more so you see a bigger contrast in the level, but I like the utilization of the umbrella still here. That's cool. Love it. It's functional. It's not just there for one moment. They use it throughout in different ways. Then they go down and up and down and up. So Oneus does a good job of at least keeping their arms in the same space difference because they're matching what the dancers are doing. So that's a big okay with that. So they hit it, the dancers put their arms up, but notice that some of the angles are a little off because of where they're holding the umbrella. So that would also be a note given there. That could be a very clear indicator because we didn't have our hands properly gripped on it or established across the board. Anything you do after is going to be off too. So those are just little cleanliness things. So this right here, it just feels, I do wish we did deviate just a little bit, not deviate, but do something, one extra thing in this little section here. Maybe it's a level, maybe it's an add-on, a canon or something. It felt like we were just eating up a little bit of time, just going off of charisma when we've already kind of showcased that in symptom throughout the other parts of the routine. And then we go over, I like that little brush over the hand, which is nice, a hit, and this is like a little, this is a guada, but like a super grimy one. So the dancers are doing and digging more collectively with the whole body, and then you see it very isolated with Oneus. So I see the difference there, but because they're all facing the different direction, or the same direction, it is hard to tell the difference if you're not looking for it. So it may not be the cleanest thing. So they go back to a nene, which is nice. The dancers are much lower, and you have they go over. I like the little gimme 5, and the gimme 5, if you were curious, a lot of times unlocking, you would see that, and it's to literally transfer your energy or transfer your set to somebody else, which is cool. So I'm not saying that's what they did, but it's really cool to see that there. So now we have the pull out there, Bruce Lee, holding out a long note, but also going full. Pushing your hinge forward is really impressive. It's nice to see. It's so unfortunate that this umbrella did not open, but I appreciated that he kept fighting to keep it open. He didn't just leave it not. So I appreciate that effort. Then we see Huang get up nice and tall. I still feel I wish that there was something different about what they were wearing. Maybe something a little disheveled, meaning like one of our ties are looser, or the suspenders a little like completely off, like something different about what they're wearing versus just, we're just intense. But I also understand the intention of the umbrellas was to, that sounded like guns, right? So how it was hitting the umbrella is like a bulletproof kind of effect, right? That, a note whenever I'm talking concept here, very universal in nature. When you hear this sound, you think gun, right? And gun is a very universal thing. Now, you can use a gun for a very niche concept, like a gangster or a mobster from 1935, and that's going to be different than a 2024 mobster from a different part of the world, right? Those things are different, and those are cool, but the universal concept is you have guys that are, you know, they're being combative, there's fight scenes involved, but what's the era? Those things can be more itemized, is kind of my point. But anyway, I still feel that way. It does feel a smidgen underwhelming, because normally when you have curtain reveals like that, you normally see something different in appearance if they're going to stand there, allowing you the opportunity to scan, I think is kind of my point. But I like the levels on this, the steps. I still am curious. I wonder if they have a behind the scenes on this. I'm curious as to why we chose to not have our arms be involved in this, because the base is so heavy, and it did feel, because our umbrellas were not, they're on the sides versus in the center, it wasn't as much a focal point for us to see and appreciate those umbrellas being clocked in. That, oh, I did hear that, which was nice, but then one of our members chose to pop out of it when, I don't know if we were supposed to. He wasn't our feature there, and that's why it kind of drew my attention there when it may not have needed to be drawn there. So he goes, he has his moment, he's up at the top. The step, scuff, nice. The columns are nice to drop down. I appreciate the sternum being pulled there, letting the hair go whoosh. Cool. And it goes dee-dee-dee-dee, so I like that with the arms. Come on now. The pulls boom and boom and boom. So I like the triple syncopation on that. And they hit it over, and then you see our dancers go from columns and they're spacing it out. But our members do not have to be held to that responsibility. That's the dancer's job, because they're behind the members, so they know how far out they need to go to maintain their spacing. So that's smart there. I hit there, and boom, boom. One of our dancers is going so freaking reverbed and having a heavy pop presence. So that would be my note to him, because he's front and center, low key. I mean, in the center, I can see that. So his texture's different, and notice his range gets off because he chooses to reverb at an accent point and not letting the move go fast enough. So that's my note there. If you wanted it to be cleaner, that could be a reason why it's not as clean there. Then right there, we end up just doing a simple window change. Then we have a nice little charisma choice. Do I think this would have been a cool opportunity for him to have, let's say, a glass that is shattered? He has another one drinking from it, like an umbrella, something to further his charisma that he said in the beginning. Having it here, possibly, that would have been something outside of him just standing there. But, you know, grabbing an umbrella to carry up there versus just yourself, the timing's a little different. That's just a fun little add-on. Down and down and down and down. So I think the canon on that and the add, it's actually technically an add-on. So it goes down and down and down and down. And I think because our feature in that moment, who is rapping, which he's normally a vocalist, but a lot of times, as somebody who's just watching and you've never met these groups before, you wouldn't inherently know that. So that's a good example of, it helps contribute the competitiveness of the group long term, when you can see the versatility that they bring every single time. That comes from one lens of looking at it. Another lens is, can everybody hold it down in any position that they're given? Yes. It really does feel that way, which is a really good competitive group, like I said. So all in all, do you have to know that our vocalist is rapping and that's a really big deal? You don't technically need to know that to not be, like, I could still be impressed with the fact that he's moving and he's having to syncopate vocally to where it's like the fullness of the movement that he has to do. It is modified because he's singing live, I get that, but he's still doing it and he's not just standing there. That's still impressive. It's nice. He drops it down, hitting it over to the CC from one side to the other, and then we pick it out, heel, and then he's still going. And then you have your ace in the top. You bring it up, and then we go into a little shootout once again. Then right here, this is a cannon. And then you notice this is the part I was mentioning. His suspender is down. He does a good job working with it, not being fazed by it whatsoever. Very nice. And it goes da-da-da-da-da-da. So they go peel it from the front to the back once again. and it goes, which is also really nice. I love just the crisp with that door sound that all matches very well. New feature, he grabs his mic. It signals to me, why is he grabbing his mic? He's featured next. So that was actually a really nice subtle way to get our attention. So now everyone's melting. I love me a good melt, guys. I use this all the freaking time when I want somebody featured in a solo moment. I have them all melt while other dense content's going on. It's great. It's great. And then right here, I do wish it was a little bit darker faster so he could get down faster, but that's life. That's whatever. Yeah, 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 yeah. And he comes up, and now he's vocalizing, and he's known for rapping. That's the same note, just like I gave him my other feature, which is cool. And I like that we have this little hold, and then we push, and push is also really nice. The down up is cool. Da-da-da-da. The hit and da-da-da-da-da-da. And it goes sa-na-na. So I like the extension or integration of the arm pull on that is nice. And then they push towards the inside. The reach up is also really nice. A little turn to the inside with our two members to now walk out to showcase a new member. That was a fun little reveal. That's a cool curtain reveal, which elaborates or validates a lot of my other points. When you choose to do curtain reveals, what about it makes it special? Why did you choose to go in and why did you choose to go out? That's why. We love it. Cool. Now the doors are open. Cool. Have they been open like this whole time? Yeah, I mean, they closed it. Yeah, and then they opened it whenever they all revealed themselves. Yeah, so it's been open. That's fine. Now this part, he takes it and takes it to a high note. Very impressive of it being 3 minutes in, and he's able to hold a note that's stably being as full out as he's been. Gives a thumbs up for me. It does sound like an explosion's about to take place, like a grenade or a bomb, and everyone's bracing for cover, but it also looks like his high note is bothersome to their eardrum. So it's kind of like it works with both. Yep, I still feel that everybody's not committing to the same degree of, oh crap, this is really loud, like they should. You have about 2 people doing it and the rest are very subtle, so I would have gotten that looked at and workshopped and established how big do you want it all to be. And then he hits it, boom, and they all reverb on the tail end. The reverb looked fine because everyone committed to it. Do you see what I mean? So now they say, let's go, and they ponies, do-do-do, pony, pony, da-da-da, which is nice. So this part's pretty clean, honestly, very full. It doesn't look like we've dropped energy at all, which is exactly what you want to have, especially near the end, because that's exactly what people are looking for, is your energy dying? The answer is no, so that can help them here. We go down, up, heel toe, and then we go hit, and boom, boom, boom. So I like the high to low. And they go over Bruce Lee. Now this movement right here is in reference to Bruce Lee. So because of this track, the track is NCT track, and of course a lot of the influences that we are seeing come from Bruce Lee. Because it's in a K-pop track, I would need to know, or I would be able to understand why they made this choice more appropriately, because it's in reference to the K-pop schema of we're referencing an actual person named Bruce Lee. Now, does everybody know Bruce Lee? No. But because I know that this comes from NCT, I know enough about NCT, they're a boy group out of SM, and I saw what the choreo looks like. So, if anything, even if I may not have inherently knew that this was, this was in reference to Bruce Lee, I could see that in reference to who they were covering, which was NCT. Does that make sense? So I hope that is providing clarity as to why, even though I know Bruce Lee and I get that reference, and I haven't seen Kingsman, and I did not get that reference here, the Bruce Lee reference and the Kingsman reference get held to the same accord, because what you're judging is the schema of the K-pop realm, which is, this is an NCT track with a choreography to boot there. Now, if I was doing a K-pop analysis and I kept hearing this name Bruce Lee pop up, I would have to take it upon myself to go research that and come back so I could be more effective there in that sense here. But here, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to tell you it was Kingsman, because they didn't say Kingsman, they just said man maketh man, and I don't think Kingsman is the only place that has used that verbiage. Does that make sense? So I hope I'm providing more clarity on my perspective on it, because I still feel the way that I do. I still hold true to, if your concept doesn't work, that should dock you, if I'm being completely real, because there is a way to universally showcase your concept, but still make it very niche for people who get it, right? But it still needs to be readable in schema and in structure. And even a lot of you admitted, if you didn't know the movie, it makes sense why it's scattered. That's my point, okay? I shouldn't have to know the movie to get the reference. Or sorry, to get the schema of it. I'm not saying the nooks and crannies, but the schema of it. Choreographically speaking, the structure's pretty good. I do think there's still some pretty awkward moments, but they held it down for pretty well for the most part. That Bruce Lee, I still feel a lot of ways that I felt the first time when I touched on choreo. Some of our guys are too full out for certain sections where it sticks out when they're not supposed to stick out. They go down, boom, down, up, and they go pulse, pulse, and then they pull, pull, pull. Very full, I appreciate that. Dancers are holding it down just like the members. The members are not muting it, which is impressive, which was what we love, and I appreciated that when I saw that in Joker, that they did in the intro stage. Boom, boom, high to low, very nice. And they hit boom, and then they rode over, and I like the rolling over. I do think it could have been cleaner on our dancers on that part, but I like the level on it. They have their party mode, and they go Bruce Lee, ba-da-da. Ah, side note, notice with our Ace, his bow tie is, you know, pinned to the sides like that. I feel like if the other guys also had it a little bit, you know, like we just got over with a fight, I think that would have helped too, you know, or helped further their story, whatever, a little bit better. Down, up, and then they come up. Bruce Lee, he hits it, boom. Boom, 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 cool. Nice. Nothing crazy. So now the real question is, do I stand by what I said in the first analysis where when I watched Crew 1, I was saying Crew 1 may be at the bottom for me, and then when I watched Oneus, I was like, well, it could be Oneus, but that was really heavy influenced by concept. Now looking at it mechanically from the analytical side of the formations and structure, I feel that CRAVITY still, I still haven't seen the episode, so I will know this. I still feel like CRAVITY should take the win for this match. Do I think that CRAVITY should take top spot for all of them? I personally still think THENEWSIX should take top spot based on how they structured it. And I still gave the note to their butterfly. You know, I like every single time something lore concept came up, I gave that note out. So I want you guys to keep in mind too, if you only watched my Oneus analysis, I highly implore you, watch my full analysis on everybody, and you'll see that I try to be very equal, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not going to just focus on one group and dog one group on it. And most of the time, even if it's a group's idea, it takes a village to create a concept or bring it to life. So all of my notes I still feel are not a reflection of Oneus. It's actually the whole team involved. I understand the turnaround time. I understand those things. These are great performances, and I'm very proud that we had the privilege of looking at this. But also, I still have to be constructive and be honest on as to if they didn't score top or if they won their match, why could that have been? If they didn't score, why not? Because I'm not a fan of any of the groups, and I want to be an aid to help put out fires that, you know, that Mnet likes to set, especially in how they manipulate footage on the show. And I know we have a fire right here that's ablaze, but like I said, the amount of grace I've received and amount of respect I've received in the comments in regards to me having a differing opinion than a lot of people, I appreciate that, and I see that, and I do ask for that again as we continue to have this discussion. It's not something, I'm still open to hearing different thoughts, but I really hope that I was able to provide more clarity on my perspective as to why I feel the way that I feel. And it will take a lot for me to change that because of how I was trained for years, okay? But that's something I'm totally willing to work on for sure. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. I'm excited to take a look at this episode, and you guys can be a part of the discussions, not just on YouTube, but on Patreon. You can do so under the comments on comment under all of the videos, and they're all in full screen there too, and I don't deal with any copyright issues on that front. So if you're like, Jess, I want in, it'll be right over there. I have a link under every single video. You can go and easily access it. You guys know me, I know you. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.